Step right up, it's time to hear the cleverest show of the year. AI Catchup, brighter tone, every week in your living room.
Hello, everybody. How's everybody doing? Let me get everybody on stage. And all righty. All right. So, Brad, welcome, Michael, David, and I'm sorry. I've been trying to connect and then horrible internet on the highway, so I couldn't do a really good job last time, but I'm excited to be here. And Brad, what are we doing today?
Well, Harvey, great to see everybody. Glad to be here on our AI Catch-Up. Today we're going to talk about workflows. We've talked about all these different tools. We've caught up our audience. If you want to catch up on the AI Catch-Up, go to the URL at the bottom of the screen, aicatchup.live. If you want to check out what we've been doing in the past, go do that. But for today, we're going to talk about how those all interplay. There are so many AI software tools. It's great to look at them individually. Today, we're going to look at the workflow between them. Because, David, you work with a lot of teams and a lot of projects with Witty and with Stone AI. You guys have workflows. And, Michael, you're an expert in multiple really cool areas. I know what sets you apart is workflows. I think today's topic is the way all of our tools interconnect.
Absolutely. And I think that, first of all, I thought we weren't going to get to have the song played. And I just realized how addicted I am to our song. I would have been so bummed. So thank you, Harvey, for, getting that going. But yes, right. It's there's so many things out there. We can't, I think we've talked on past episodes. Don't try to understand everything. Find the few things that work. And then as you're looking, on workflows, we thought it would be great just to share how we're using different tools to accomplish whatever we're trying to accomplish and make things easier. So I think that's good. And like you said, Brad, I think Michael is the master at a lot of these things, right? I mean, we kind of all have our different nuances and things we work on, but it is great just learning about so many new things from each other and other people, the community.
Agreed.
Absolutely. I think one of the best workflows that I've learned to do is to appreciate that a lot of the language models have a free version. What I hear from people is they say, oh, I get fatigued from buying so many subscriptions. I agree. And yet, you can use ChatGPT for free. There's a new $5 version. We should have a look at that. You can use Claude for free. You can use Gemini for free. You can use Grok for free. You can use Notebook LM for free, and you can use Perplexity for free. And when you move between all of those tools, even at the free level, you find the voice, the research style, the returns. There's a comfort and a groove. Have you guys found that? Do you use some or all of those tools, guys?
I'm going to jump in. Yeah, I love using Perplexity, Grok, ChatGPT. I literally use all of them. But what I do is what you just said. I get the output for each one, and then I look at what information is out there, and then I literally make it into a project, and then I put them all together, and then now I can talk to all of them. Case in point, though, make sure you know that if you do that, you're actually not allowed to. You're not supposed to combine the different AIs, and that's if you look in the fine print, it tells you not to. But don't rat me out, I guess.
I'm telling you, it's hard because I don't know. Most people are using outputs from one and putting it into another, and usually you get different perspectives and they're helpful. So anyway, I'm not sure they're tracking that, but yeah. So Brad, I would ask, how would you define a workflow for the audience?
Great question, Michael. I would go to ChatGPT and I would say, define a workflow. And then I would take that over to Claude and say, Chat thinks this is a workflow. And then I would take that over to Gemini and say, what is a workflow deep research? And then I would go to Perplexity and I would say, tell me what a workflow is. Then I would take all the answers and I would go to Notebook LM and paste them in. And then I would say, who has the best idea of what a workflow is? And then maybe put a mind map together. It's a series of repeatable steps that are meaningful.
See, that's interesting because I never tell each other that I'm working with another LLM. So that is something, Brad, that you do that I don't do for some reason. I don't know why. Maybe I'm crazy. Who knows? But I do like that, right? Give me the workflow. Here's what I'm trying to do. Notebook LM that I don't even think there is a paid version of is amazing. And I kind of use that as the repository for many of the things I'm doing. I like what you just said with that workflow, Brad, right? Because I feel like that's my file cabinet, Notebook LM. And when I'm working with projects that have a million different things going on, if I can create kind of a big file there, where I can put up to 300 different files within that, then I can kind of pull off of there and always have that as my, I kind of consider it almost my like small business model or language model for that particular project. I don't know how you guys have been using it, but I love that for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Let me just add a little light to this. For example, why use the different databases? Think of it this way, and I'll use an extreme example. Grok, their information, their data is specific to Twitter. And they are spending a lot of energy and time to making sure that other LLMs, other big companies are not leveraging their data. As a result, think of it as they have their own secret sauce in a way, their own data. And because, as we know, data is gold, when you speak to Grok, you're actually taking advantage of that Twitter data and that information. Now, with that said, yes, they are leveraging the internet. They're leveraging other databases. So think of it as that plus what the others have. And that, when you ask that question, it's giving you that output in that way. And that's why it's so different from ChatGPT and Claude, because they may leverage different types of databases. And that's why when you ask those questions, you're getting that output differently. The other thing I want you to know is that when you ask these LLMs, there's different grade levels. So you may ask ChatGPT 4, or you may ask 5, or you may ask Claude. Think of it as, are you going to ask that high school student for a question that you need an answer? Are you going to ask a college student, or are you going to ask them a PhD student? And depending who you ask will determine the output. So just because you have a certain LLM doesn't mean you're asking that PhD. You just got to know. Brad and David, what do you guys think? And Michael?
So my understanding is that all the major LLMs were trained on almost the entirety of human output on the internet. And that once you reach the end of that, then you need to have some sort of content creation engine that allows your AI to continuously improve in some way. And that was Elon Musk's reason for having XAI by X, was to be able to train on all the content that's posted on Twitter. And then, as you said, it's like their secret sauce. And also there's just this regular content generation engine that allows the AI to learn new things, and as human creativity continues to expand. And I think that OpenAI was considering doing something similar with a social media platform. Meta obviously has Facebook and Instagram, and they're able to pull content from that to train their stuff. But yeah, so that's what I would say.
I heard something interesting on the weekend. Some of you guys were there at a call, some of us were on, and Shelley Palmer, who's a notable name in AI, was speaking. And what came out of the conversation was the way the large language models are trained matters, and the output you get has been adjusted, let's say, for what you want. Now, Harvey, you're a medical doctor, true?
True. Emergency medicine.
Now, you're a medical doctor. Is it fair to say that in the hospital, the doctors are mostly half men, half women?
Yeah. Ironically, there's different standards. There's a standard deviation. Some professions are more male dominated, unfortunately. And so, for example, there might be more orthopedic surgeons that are male. There may be a little bit more emergency medicine physicians than female. But then there would be other specialties that is more, OB-GYN. There's a little more female than male, stuff like that.
Yeah.
But yes.
But basically, it's a mixed group. And the point Shelley made was that classically, for over 100 years, doctors were men and women were nurses. And he said, when you type into a chat, and this is a way to understand how these language models work, he said, when you type in the words man plus medicine, it should return doctor. And when you type in woman plus medicine, it should return doctor as well, because there's the same number of women who practice medicine as doctors as men who practice medicine as doctors. But he said the training of the internet is on books and blogs and articles and magazines that feature what was classically true for many decades. Women were in medicine as nurses, men were in medicine as doctors. He said, but that's not the 2025 reality. And so what happens is these language models, they adjust the truth because they want it to be 2025 true and not 1925 true. So they make an adjustment. And the reason to use a workflow is because each company has made different adjustments. The OpenAI company has adjusted the data in different ways. Elon's X has adjusted in different ways because it's based on the Twitter X feeds. Google, Perplexity, all these different companies, they've made different adjustments. And that's a conceptual way to understand the reason to have a workflow is sometimes when I go to one, it might be more classically true. It might be true from 1900 to 2020. Something might be more contemporarily true. This is what people are saying in the last 12 hours. And what you want out of these tools might be something that's classically true, something that's always true, or something that's true today and forward. So catching you up on these concepts is helpful, that a workflow gets you where you want to go. Do I want something that's a little more fact-driven, a little more audience-driven, a little more concept-driven? And the reason, like Michael and David and Harvey and I are talking about workflows is because as the information flows across different language models, the results change not by some trickery, but because the audience for each is different and the language model has been adjusted. I think that was my takeaway from Shelley on the weekend. You guys?
Agreed. Yeah, and then what you're talking about is basically biases, right?
Yeah, it's biases, Harvey, but that's a hot word. As soon as I say biases, people's hackles get raised and they think of other things. But you're 100% right. It's technically a bias.
Yeah, and I'm going to argue that unfortunately or fortunately, depending what side you're on, these LLMs will always have biases because they're written by man, and we have mistakes and we see things, and the data that's there may not be good data, and that's what we have. And so to address it, we need more data and research on topics that we don't know. Unfortunately, there's some populations have more research than others. And so what we need is to do research on the others so that we can push that forward. But anyway, I had to say that.
No, that's key. I think that's what we're catching people up on, is to be aware of what these tools are and how they work, and how can you overcome what you might perceive to be a flaw, what others might perceive to be a feature. How do you move between these tools?
Right.
Yes.
And then
Go ahead, Michael.
yeah, so I was going to say that a workflow could have a human in the loop element of it, or it like you have any end automatically
Michael, you're
going from
your audio is leveling out.
Okay. Yeah, thank you for calling that out. So I was going to say that there's an automated workflow, and then there's the human in the loop workflow. And when we were talking NAN or Zapier, connecting the various AI tools and then having one output go directly into another tool, and then have that work and then go to another tool, and then that could be a part of your workflow. Or you could be taking the outputs manually, reviewing it. But yeah, using multiple tools to force multiply your work is definitely the best way to go. I mean, just yesterday, I had a discovery call, took the transcript from the discovery call through Read AI, put it into ChatGPT, pulled out action items, changed things around, talked it through, then auto-generated a proposal rapidly, and then sent it over. Similarly, when I'm doing proposals for RFPs, I'll take an RFP, I'll put it into a local LLM, I'll pull out all the requirements, minimum requirements, scope of work, stuff like that, find out whether or not this is a bid worth responding to. If it is, then I combine that with company data, and then we'll ingest and we'll write rapidly a proposal in response to an RFP. Then after that, modifying, tweaking, pressure testing using AI. So there's like a workflow using AI every single step of the process. Where you can automate it, where you don't need to have human eyes on it, then that makes things even faster. But where you can do it without, I mean, it regardless of whether or not you're high touch with your use of the AI tools, it's still making your life move much faster.
Yeah.
Right. I think it's just, sorry, Brad, let me just say, I think it's just using different things. It's like, oh, what am I going to use Gemini for? Don't worry about that, everybody out there. You'll start to get some of that, but it's not that scientific. I feel it's like, oh, I'm going to write something in ChatGPT, maybe an article. I usually start there because I feel like ChatGPT knows me the most because that's my main one. But then I might tell Claude, hey, if you were a similar to like a Wired magazine editor, how would you edit this article? And then have it do that, right? Which I could do with Gemini or some of these others. So these just getting the different perspectives and playing them off of each other is good. Again, don't just create it and send it. Make sure you're reading it and looking at it. Again, this should get us, we should try to just get us like 95% of the way there. Then we can go through, tweak it. Again, the more we educate and talk on the daily to our kind of our main LLM, which I think should probably be the one you do pay for, Brad, just because, and then it's like, okay, they know me. It's speaking in my voice. I'm not just cheating or whatever people say that aren't as familiar maybe with some of this stuff, right? It's just they expand our lives because we're able to do more per hour than we ever could. So exciting.
Yeah.
So David, with Witty, you have a workflow for your email that you send out. Every time you draft an email, you are not only drafting the email, you dump it into Claude, and then you have it reframed into code because your email tool requires it to be in code format, and it dumps that out. Then you put it into your system, and then you send, and you're rapidly drafting, editing, and then sending. And you send out. You're very prolific with how many emails you send out.
Right. And it's just getting, we used to have to code those by hand with HTML editors and this and that. I wasn't doing it. Somebody else was. But now it's, pretty crazy how now that I have the format that we can use for this system, it's like, okay, I wrote up a new letter, put it in that exact format. So there's no gremlins or characters that don't work.
Yeah. I think a good analogy is like a pizzeria. Every once in a while, the pizzeria burns your pizza. And if no one was there to notice the time that it was totally burnt and it automatically got put in the box and delivered to your door, that would be good for one customer. But imagine that it was being sent to the photographer to be photographed for a magazine, and it was photographed by a robot and then published to the magazine by a robot. And all of a sudden, it's a burnt pizza, and it says, this is our best work. I think you have to think about, if you're not putting a human in the loop, you might be burning the pizza and then blasting it out to the world. It was a few degrees between what was beautiful and what everybody wanted to see and what looks like you never even looked. A human in the loop is key for any workflow. When it matters, if you don't get the end result you like, go back to the jumps between services or the jumps between question and answer and have a quick look at it and go, oh, is this where the pizza got burnt? Because when it comes to sending emails that are permanent, once you hit the send button, it's out there. You should be looking. That, I think, is a critical part of an AI workflow, is that as soon as you're about to make a permanent choice, do a full review. And don't use the AI to do a full review. You should review it.
Agreed.
Totally.
I want to touch on something real quick. What Michael said, it's so important to have that human in the loop. I want you to use in the doctor world, I call it the clinical gestalt, but for everybody out there, your years of work experience, and then look at the output and to be like, is this valid? Is this BS? And then do some research and then go back and be like, oh, you know what, it was hallucinating on here, especially on the stuff that your gut tells you, yeah, I don't know about this. And then also just check the references, because God forbid you're saying something and you got AI, but then AI kind of hallucinated. And so that's why I kind of like doing the different models to take a look at it collectively and then say, okay, yeah, all of this is common theme. But even with that, you want to still verify.
Totally.
And Brooks has joined us. Welcome, Brooks.
Hey guys, good to see you.
Good to see you.
What's up, Brooks?
So I would say that if you are interested in creating workflows, like you know how your process works and you know how things go in your business or in your tasks, but you can essentially list everything out and then map it using an LLM. It'll create a workflow chart for you, and then you can tag, like ask for suggestions or recommendations about where there should be potentially a review point, a human in the loop review point. And also get ideas for automation for stuff that should just be automatic. And Brooks, just to catch you up real quick, we were talking about workflows, automated workflows, and then the manual jumping between tools and workflows when you're using multiple tools. So.
Awesome.
What would you say, Brooks, is your top workflow or things you like to use together? I mean, I was talking about like when I'm writing something, I kind of use Notebook LM almost as my file cabinet for projects, and then I'll kind of go back and forth between ChatGPT that I kind of feel knows me the most as my main one, and then using like Claude or Gemini to edit things. Do you have any kind of systems you like to use?
I feel like I don't use Notebook LM nearly enough. I really need to start using it more. I use Claude and ChatGPT a lot. If I use Google, it's usually Gemini, but just through like the developer console, because I find that I can get better, like they call it their playground. I find that I can get more words or tokens when I'm trying to get things imported and exported. But yeah, I really need to give Notebook LM more time. You know, their voices that you can generate out of there are just nothing is as good as those right now that I've heard.
And then speaking of workflows, I'll throw this one out. I had to do an investor pitch in another language, and I was able to use Notebook LM to take my pitch, make it into a podcast, put it in another language, and it was pretty cool because it did a really good job. And the other person was very impressed that this was in another language, in their native tongue.
Very cool.
Wow. And Gemini, I will say Gemini because it just occurred to me. I have we've been doing a quantum session at Witty once a month. And what I love about the deep research within Gemini, especially for that, is that whole thing's just around like keeping current with what are the new companies working in quantum and who's just what do we need to be aware of, because quantum's going to be here before we know it. And I think the more we can stay ahead with our knowledge of who the players are, what companies are there, what is it, the better. And I'm able just to go into like this deep research folder I have been building on. And then before each session, just say, hey, who else, where were the big investments in the last month in quantum? What new companies are making marks? Have there been new things we should know about for the community?
Yeah.
So anyway, that's like a different workflow I have, which I probably still, because Brooks said that, I'm like, oh God, I'm talking about Notebook LM. I'm probably not using it enough too. I have to get disciplined about like sticking that stuff there,
I think when we talk about workflows, it's important to know big brands like Google, who now have phones like the Pixel. I've got a Pixel. They've got tablets. I've got a Google tablet. So you've got your hardware. Then you've got your connected Google Drive. You've got your search history. You've got your Google Chrome browser. You've got things like Notebook LM, and you've got Gemini. If you start to think of that as like an ecosystem, there are workflows between your devices, your hardware, the things in your hands, the ways you use the internet, the ways you search, the data that you store, the locations that you search for information, and the way those interact. There will soon be workflows within the ecosystem. right now, I think Google is only picking up speed in the most excellent way. I think it's also good to see ecosystem workflows. What do you guys think about that?
I agree.
I agree.
Go ahead, Brooks.
I was just going to say that, Google in particular has been really staying on top of things kind of silently. There was an image generator that kind of hit somewhat virality status last week and the week before called Nano Banana, and Google went ahead and added that to their image generation. So now if you use their image gen, it's using that newer model, and it looks really good.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I was just gonna say, I mentioned it a couple of times in the past, and I have no stock in it, but the Hux is a good example. HUXE. I tap on it. It's linked to my Google Calendar, my Google Gmail, and it literally goes through. It says, "Good morning, Harvey. Here are the top emails that came overnight. Make sure you address XYZ. This morning, you double booked yourself again at 9 in the morning. Here's the things you need to know." And then I has my current events, and then it talks to me. So it's kind of cool because then I can go on walks, and then I'm hearing the news, hearing all of this stuff, and then I'm able to be more productive. To your point, it's the same ecosystem, and it's easy to tap into these things and give me that output.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think the more people are aware that large language model tools aren't individual and siloed and separate from each other, but they can live in this shared space, like Harvey's saying, the more your digital world opens up, and workflows is a key part of that. Individually, we've talked about a lot of those tools at the AI Catchup. If you go to aicatchup.live and browse there, Brooks has made a tremendous amount of learning available to people. If you want to go there and check that out, for anything that you or your team want to catch up on, check out what he's got. And if you need to catch up on something more through lessons or through some kind of group experience, reach out to the Catchup team. That's why we're here. We're broadcasting live. We had conversations, the five of us. We said, what should we do? And we said, why not just go live and then tell people, we help people catch up across all of our expertise in our areas. What we know we can do is help people who need to get caught up on the world of AI software. We can get you caught up.
Awesome.
Yes, and I will just say, for me, remembering to use AI for everything is probably the one thing I need to do better, right? It's just like many of you may have heard my phone ring. I got a new phone. Somehow it got connected to my computer. It rings on my computer now, my iPad. I'm like, God, I just don't have time to look into it. I've been so busy. But it's like, duh, why didn't I just ask AI? Could you walk me through how to decouple my phone from all these devices, right? Anyway, I find like the things that sometimes we're just not thinking about it because we've trained ourselves for however many years not to have this stuff, but it's really all right here at our fingertips,
Yeah. Hey, Dave, I love what you just said. I'm going to throw this funny story, everybody. So I am you guys know me as the guy that uses AI for everything. I was in my bathroom and I noticed that the glass, it's like a glass shower, was shattered. And I'm like, holy cow, what the hell happened? So I asked my mom to come in, and she was visiting me. I'm like, Mom, what the heck is this? My mother said, Harvey, take a picture of all the angles to this, upload it to ChatGPT, and ask ChatGPT what happened to your shower.
Wow.
And I was like, oh my God, it's the other way around. I should have been the one saying, hey, I'm taking pictures. But in the moment, I was like perplexed. And I did that. And I asked ChatGPT, what the heck happened? And it said, oh, because you have these fans blowing and the heat from the window hitting the glass created a stress environment that caused the glass to shatter. And it was all over the shower, all over the bathroom. And I thought, looked at my mom like, you go, Mom. Like, that's freaking amazing. To your point, David, she uses it for everything.
Right? Exactly. Love it.
Right there. Yeah.
Now that's, Harvey, that's not a workflow, that's an airflow. That's a great story. That's such a great picture of the way you can use your physical device, the real world, and some of these tools to solve problems. I really enjoy catching people up on AI software. I know for some of us, it's second nature, it's becoming second nature. I also know that for a lot of people, it seems like a big wall to climb, and it grows every day. From what I can see, the world of AI software is only becoming the norm for technology. The technology is now at a much more rapid pace of evolution and change. I think it's great for anyone tuning in. We're glad to have you listening because we're all on this journey together.
Awesome. Well, I appreciate you guys. I don't have anything else. David, you guys have anything else to add?
I think I'm good. You know, I was out for a couple weeks. Last week I had COVID. I'm still on the show, but I might have looked like I wasn't really here. But getting caught up with you guys is amazing, and there'll be so much more next week. We'll you know, put questions in the thread, things you want covered. Let us know. We're diving deep into this stuff every day.
Yeah. And next week I'm gonna do my best to tune in from Denmark to say hi to everybody.
Nice. If you're in Denmark, reach out. We'll hook you up with Harvey.
That's right.
Great episode, everybody. Thanks for watching.
Guys.
Have a great week, everyone.
Step right up, it's time to hear the cleverest show of the year. AI Catchup, brighter tone, every week in your living room.